tie your back.
I'm back. I'm here. We're in the lab.
Dude, you train at the base, okay? Or you train occasionally at the base.
Yes.
I think I went there for one tournament. Tell me about the base. Because, like, listen, I started training at the place I train right when I moved here because my friend was there, and I'm looking for some other places to train. It's like, holler at me. I've been a black belt for 11 years. I got my black belt from Kaio. I'm not a terrible person.
Black belt from Kaio?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So don't try to invert with me. I know how to deal with the inversion really well.
Dude, he's a wizard.
Yeah. So my jiu-jitsu game is centered around Kaio's whole principle is being 130 pounds and subbing guys that are 260. So my game is like, it's like,
You're
I want to be
man with small man jiu-jitsu.
Dude, I'm 190 pounds, but you won't I'm like smoke. Like no matter where you go, it's the wrong place. That's how I try to do it. Yeah. But how long you been training the base?
So I started training probably like 3 years ago. I went consistently for 2.
Nice.
It's been probably 2 months since I've been back, but I found the base through my buddy. It was a random like Tuesday night.
Nice.
And he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, you want to come do jiu-jitsu?" And I was like, "I've never done that." Sure. And so I showed up in like basketball shorts and a t-shirt. It's a no-gi night too. And
the basket with the big old pockets and stuff, and the basketball shorts.
Yeah. Baggy. And so, and I, you know, we're sparring and I'm sparring with a black belt and you don't know. Cause it's no Jew. Yeah. It's no gi.
No gi. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you almost said no Jew.
No.
You're like, no Jew.
No gi. And yeah, I wrap up with this guy and, you know, I just get completely smoked. And my buddy afterwards is like, "Yeah, that's a black belt." And you know, when you first start too, you think you're going to be good. I'm like, I'm bigger than this dude. I'm stronger. Probably not the case at all. It was a incredibly humbling moment. And I was like, I have to learn the ways.
I have a very dear friend, Max, who's my age, 42. And we went to college together, like, again, one of my longest friends. And he started jiu-jitsu like 3 years ago, which is great because we haven't done the same sport since college. We're both on the rowing team. And he found it, you know, obviously in his late 30s. I'd been doing it since I was, you know, a lot younger. And he's going through all of these steps that you're going through and that I went through. And one of them was his realization was, called me the other day. So he lives in North Carolina. So he'll call me at like 6 a.m. or 5:30 because he knows I'm up editing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, 7:30 there. So he's like, I'll call Matt.
Yeah.
And he calls me. He's like, all right, look, when I was a white belt, what I used to gauge as progress or what I wanted was to be like a naturally good white belt.
Yeah.
Like, He's like, he would gauge himself as in, I am good. I'm this good for this amount of time. I've only been to X number of classes and I've already like, you know, I passed this guy's guard or something like that.
Yeah.
And what he came to terms with is that as younger people, when we're learning things, because, you know, as you get older, you don't learn a lot of new things frequently, right? Like you got to intentionally step into that.
Yes.
But what he was saying is like his propensity, which he sees reflected in his kids. He's got 4 boys. It's like they only know somebody who's good at something from the start. Like if they're like at the park, it's like 2 7-year-olds like, you want to race? Let's race.
Yeah.
They go race across the park. It's like nobody trained for 10 years to be that. Like the one kid's just faster than the other, right? Like, he came to terms with the idea that when he started, he still had that mentality of like, I should be naturally good at this. And what he's realized now after 3 years is like, oh no, I need to be able to get better at this. That's what I want. I need to be able to make progress. There's no end in sight though. Like this is the next 20 years of like, there you go. Welcome to jiu-jitsu. Like you're never done.
You're never done.
Yeah.
It's like, I've heard that your black belts when you get to start doing jiu-jitsu. You're finally good enough to like do jiu-jitsu.
That's a really cliche thing, but I will tell, no. But it's true. Like it took me like 3 or 4 years into my black belt. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I got it. Like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, it has to become part of you to the point where you don't think when you're walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, like,
and then you're doing jiu-jitsu.
And then you're doing jiu-jitsu.
And it feels like magic.
Yeah. And you do things like I do a lot of things that people are like, what is happening? Like if I pass somebody's guard, I don't hold their legs at all. all I do is I grab the back of their head. Because if I pass somebody's guard, the number one thing they want to do is regain guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you regain guard?
Turn back in.
Yeah, get your knees back in front of you. There you go.
Frame up.
If you hold your chin down to your chest, is it easy to pull your legs forward? Nope.
No,
because to get your legs forward, you actually have to get your head back.
Yeah.
And get away. If you can't, it's like, so all I do is grab onto somebody like, Anyway, so why'd you stick with it? You tried first day of basketball and then what?
Yeah. Why I stuck with it is because it itched that like competitive nature and getting better at something every time you go in. You know, I played sports growing up. I love getting good at new things, and that was like a really hard thing. You know, I played team sports. There's never just like a me versus someone else and getting better and pitting my own skills against somebody else. And yeah, that's why I stuck with it. I think why I stuck with it the most though is that it made my life better. It really gave me a sense of confidence. I started getting better at something, and it just made me feel good about myself.
How funny is that?
Yeah.
It's like you got to do something you're terrible at to feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, and it sucks too, but you kind of love, like the love of it is like, it sucks, but you get better at it. And yeah, it becomes a labor of love. What sucks is fun. Yeah.
That's that realization where it's like, you're going to have to do something hard to actually enjoy it. And you're like, but can't I just do something easy and have it be fun? It's like, nope, you lost that. Like after the age of 11, nothing that's easy is also fun.
Yeah.
Unless it's water slides. Those are always fun.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's part of the process too. It's like, try to pick things that are hard and not fun, or that are hard and difficult and you don't necessarily want to do them.
Right.
But like you have an inherent love for them.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like that sense of love, or that sense that I get from it is like, I want to chase that feeling from it.
Dude,
that makes me feel good about myself.
It's like, such a weird, dude, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It is such a weird thing. It's hard to explain to people that don't do jiu-jitsu how, like, what kind of itch it scratches. You're like, everybody talks about it. They're like, oh, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. I've never seen people get so addicted to something as they do jiu-jitsu. Like, it ruins marriages.
It can, yeah.
Like, people become, like, they totally change their way of life. Like, I've never seen somebody change their way of life for pool.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
And it's something that people come to as adults and they just get hooked, man, like instantly.
And I'm someone that's like has propensity to be like just game for hours and stuff. It's like not when I'm training jiu-jitsu and loving it. I just want to go do jiu-jitsu.
Let me ask you something. You're 29 now. You've found your way back to education, which I have a great respect for. There's a professor at BSU, Dr. Jared Talley, who actually didn't go back to school till he was like 26. He was working like road crews and stuff. Yeah. And as he said, he was like dating some girl and she was taking some online class and he helped her with some of her work and she got a good grade. And he was like, I could do this, you know? And so he just goes back, he goes in as a math major. And then I think he switches to like philosophy. And what was really cool is he's like, they're essentially the same thing. Like, it's the same thing. And I love that because I love math and I love philosophy. I'm like, yeah, they're the same thing. Like, one, you're doing numbers and the other, you're just using words. And anyway, but the point is you found your way back to it. Yeah. Like, and you were, you know, hanging out, doing whatever. Like, what did you do after high school? Like, how did you find yourself in this place where you're like, I want to go back to school?
After high school, I went to college. I went to Boise State for a year. And I spent all my time having fun. That's all I cared about.
Was it a good time?
It was a great time. It was so much fun. I had a blast. I miss all my roommates. You know, they've since moved out of Boise, but
were you living in the dorms?
I was in the dorms. I was right off the river, and I just, you know, my grandparents had paid for everything, you know, so it was just a ball of a time. I didn't have any responsibilities. I was out of the house.
You got to tell me, what classes did you attempt to take?
Oh, I think all the basic ones like English, math, there's a university foundations class. What else did I try to take? Just the basic stuff. Cause you know, when I first went back, it was like, I didn't really care about education. I didn't really even have a sense of maybe what I wanted to do. And I was kind of hesitant to even go. But my grandparents paying for everything, you know, it was kind of like a no-brainer. There's a bit of pressure.
How could I not go?
Bit of pressure from the parents. It's like, hey, yeah, you should go back. You should go to college. And so I did. But, you know, that's not where my mind was. So all the partying happened. And I got mono really bad. So that second semester I withdrew from everything. I was kind of like bedridden, was at home, just asleep in the bed all day. And having like my first girlfriend ever, we were breaking up, and it was just like, it was a crazy bad time. It was just a horrible time. And
wait,
like,
were you still in the dorm sick, or did you go back home?
It was winter break.
Okay.
And I got sick before winter break. Winter break happened, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a push to go back to college. And when I got back, I just wasn't getting better, and I just kept getting strep throat over and over again. So I had to get my tonsils taken out, and so it was a whole situation there. So for the past 8 years, I think, when I leave college, it was like 2016. So I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years there.
So at the end of that second semester, you were like, I'm out.
I can't.
My girlfriend broke up with me.
Yeah.
I lost my tonsils and my girlfriend.
I'm sick. I haven't been there for a while. And
bro, what about that first girlfriend? I remember the first girlfriend. This girl, Megan Weldon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the first girlfriend, man. Like, I was thinking about that just the other day, how the highs were so high and the low. When she broke up with me and started dating Tom Anderson. Thomas, damn it, man. He was on the wrestling team with me. I thought we were friends. Then he was dating Megan. Oh my God. The pain, the brutal
pain of that. It's understated. I think it hurts everybody. Nobody talks about it enough.
I think we need to normalize
breaking up. Yeah. You need to sit with your kids and be like, hey, you really love her. You really love this person, but you're a kid. I don't know if I would even receive that message when I was that age. So you got to go through it.
Dude, my oldest is 13. I have 3 boys. And my oldest is 13. I'm like, oh no, it's coming for him. Yeah. Like, he's gonna get the first girlfriend. He's a real sensitive guy too. Like, he's great. Like, I was blessed with good kids. They were never great. Like, they have everybody has their problems, but like, my boys have never been malicious. They've never like beat up on each other and stuff. They get like roughhouse. So like, he's just a sensitive soul. And I'm like, oh no, some Philly's going to break his heart.
You got to get him in jiu-jitsu, you got to immediately jiu-jitsu. Immediately.
Do you think that getting your heart broken is just like a rite of passage?
Yeah.
And then like
part of
crying on the phone to your now ex-girlfriend who's like, oh, he's crying again.
Oh yeah.
Everybody makes fun of
the cringiest stuff after. Yeah.
Like, what about this? Everybody says, like, girls take it on the chin for being emotional, but dude, there is nothing more emotional than an 18-year-old boy. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
100%.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. We take it the hardest. I'm going to say it.
Hardest.
It might be controversial.
We need to normalize this.
Hot take, but yeah, the boys take it hard.
Oh my God. All right. So you're 19. Your girlfriend broke up with you. You lost your tonsils. You got over mono. You're back home living with the rent.
Living with mom. And
Mom.
she's getting a new husband, and she's moving out. So I gotta where am I going? So I found some old childhood friends. They had a house down next to Boise State.
Nice.
Went and hung out with them.
Getting right back into the Boise State.
Right back into yeah. So get a little bit better. Get a job at a car wash right off Broadway. I was working there. And then
did you have a name tag on your shirt?
No.
Oh, damn it.
No. like a mechanics one. Yeah. No, we're like, we had these little shorts on. It was a
whole thing.
Yeah, I got my manager was like, you look like my you look like my baby daddy. I got that one from her. I was like, yo, whoa. It was wild. That car wash was a wild place.
At the car wash.
It's a whale of a wash.
So you're 19 living with your boys down near BSU, which you just dropped out of because your mom moved in with her new husband.
Yep.
You're working at the car wash with a manager who's lightweight hitting on you.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Keep going.
Yeah. And then, so
I love this story.
I gotta fast forward a little bit. We gotta get to
okay. I got nothing but time. I got so many questions.
So I'm still liking to have a good time. So that's what I'm mostly doing with my boys, just making the money on, as I can and working as little as possible.
Beer money on the side.
Maximizing fun.
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm living in that house. Eventually we all kind of part ways at that house too, and I get a new place. And um there's this moment where, all of that having fun was just kind of masking how I felt, which was just bad. I was just a very, very depressed kid behind all of it, but I was trying to have a really good time. And when I was 22 in this new place, it just kind of bubbled up finally that like I was just unhappy. And I see a video of my speech I gave, but and I don't know if you saw it, but there was this moment when I was 22 that I was in that apartment, and I was just having the worst night of my life, and I didn't know if I wanted to live or not, basically. And I was gonna go make that decision in my bedroom, and I laid down and I just kind of let everything back in. Everything I was blocking off, I just like open myself back up. And the craziest thing happened. I just had this like encounter that was just like, you're either gonna get better or not. And I made the decision to find a therapist. And 3 a.m. that night, I got my laptop. I found a therapist. I'd been kind of working my way towards like, what am I gonna do to make this better? And I'd been reading a lot of like Carl Jung psychology, and I found a Jungian therapist from like Zurich. And she's from Florida, but she'd moved to Zurich to become a Jungian analyst, and I got connected with her somehow.
That sounds right. Sounds right.
And so, I that night was kind of a pivotal moment for me that I started making things a little bit better. And but I was in a deep place, so it took a couple years to like keep working. I think therapy's, it's a practice, or it's kind of like jiu-jitsu. It's something you go try to get better, understand yourself better, your problems better. And so yeah, I did that for a couple years. And I had to move back out with my grandparents in New Plymouth. I was, I think I was 23, 24, 23, 22, 23, 8 months living with my grandparents out in New Plymouth. And that's, you don't want to be that when you're 23. It's terrible. It's like, knocking myself for that. But
can I
interject? Yeah.
When you say like it takes years, it's like, yeah, man, you dig yourself in a hole. It takes years. I had a really dark time when I was 19. So I'd gone through my first year of college, flunked a bunch of classes. I was my life was a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
My dad lived in Alaska. My mom dropped me off at the boathouse at Cal when I was a freshman, and like gave me a hug and disappeared. She moved in with my grandmother, and pretty soon thereafter moved in with her new husband. And I remember going through this year where it was brutal. Like it was so like there was not a scrap of there's not a fiber in my body that felt good about me at all. And when I was 19, going for sophomore year, same kind of like, I can't get my stuff together the first semester. And I remember having this moment where I was actually playing this video game. Right, this mass multiplayer online video game. Because like if you're
Which one?
EverQuest, I was playing.
I've heard of it. I've never played it.
Yeah, well, look, if the real life sucks, find a video game where you can
100%.
rule that life.
100%.
Right, and so I, had found myself doing that this semester.
Yeah,
and I remember this distinct, like it was this ridiculous thought where I was like, oh my god, like I think my character's looking more jacked lately. Mind you, I've been sitting doing nothing for like 3 months, failing another class.
Yeah.
Right. Gaining weight. I had gained like 20 pounds. And here I'm marveling at this like digital character, this avatar that I had made for myself, being proud of it. And I remember thinking that night, it was like, look, if your value set, if the thing you value is like bigger muscles, right? Or like a cooler looking guy, why don't you just get bigger muscles and become a cooler guy? And I like looked at things that I disliked about it. At the time I was studying math. I was not good at reading. I didn't like writing or reading or anything. And I was like, I wonder if I could fix that. So I go out and I bought, this was back in 2001 when the Lord of the Rings was hitting hard. Like they'd made the first movie, all the books were out. So I went out and got The Hobbit, and I read The Hobbit in one night. I read through the entire night. right? So I remember being there on the couch, and it's like, what, you gonna go to bed? Like, for what? Like, what else you got to do? Keep reading. And I remember like seeing the sun come up off my deck, right in this apartment that I just been sitting. And the next day I go out and I buy the first book, like The Two Towers, I think it was. Read that whole thing in one day. And I remember calling my brother, we were good friends at the time, and he was like, you read the whole thing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. I just, kept, and this started this long path of digging out of hell, right? Where I had become this lonely, sad shell of who I wanted Matt to be. Because who I wanted Matt to be was like my dumb character on the screen. It's like, you will never be that. That's not even real. What that shows you is what you would like. Like, that's actually what you want. Like, this character, go for that. But it's going to take, dude, it takes years to dig out of that.
It takes years.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those difficult things where it's like, okay, orient yourself. What do you want?
Yeah.
And now just realize you're going to have to get better the same way you got sick.
Yeah.
It took years of drinking and making bad decisions and just not caring about things. It's going to take years of caring about things and not making those same decisions for you to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's just something I feel like I've really lost myself in that time. And it sounds like you did too. I think that's something that people need to know. It's like, when you lose yourself, you can find yourself, but it's going to be years, and just start one day at a time, man.
Yeah. And I think the part that's like been the best help for me, and we kind of talked about it earlier, is like find something that sucks and it's not easy to do, but you like doing it.
Right.
And that makes the hellish climb so much easier because you like to do that thing.
Right.
And it's making you better.
Right. You know, it's interesting too, that I think the routine of being around family, well, over COVID, I realized this really clearly. I had this one student, his name was Robin, cool guy, really enjoyed him. He came in, and this was like the tail end of 21. He was telling me about a family friend they had that was like living with them. I was like, is he like sick? And like, no, he was single dude living in the city. And everybody with a family over COVID in the first 5 weeks are like, we got to do something. I need some space.
Yeah.
This is so rough. And initially you thought like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have peace and quiet? Like all the single guys or gals, like it's no problem, whatever. But then you realize a lot of those people like had psychotic breaks because they were trapped in solitary confinement. So this guy, family friend of theirs, over COVID was like living in this apartment by himself, quarantined for like months, and wasn't leaving to do anything, was like getting DoorDash food, like wasn't seeing anyone. And he went and they invited him over for dinner after he'd been like quarantined properly. And he like never left. He was just like, can I please stay the night here? And then he's like, can I please not go home?
Yeah.
And he, so when you're like, hey, I was having this rough time, I started digging out, I end up living with my grandparents. It's like, yeah, but that reorients you to functional family existence.
100%. And we need that. And it's essential.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, there's a day that you're talking about that. I'm coming down the stairs and the sun's like coming in my grandparents' house, and it's magical. They live on like a little bit of land, and so they had the grass. It was just a very beautiful setting, and my grandma's down there cooking breakfast, and I was just like, man, I haven't felt this good. And can't remember how long. And it's because grandma's there,
she's cooking breakfast,
loving on me, cooking breakfast and stuff,
taking care of her boy.
Yeah.
My special boy.
Yeah.
Dude,
I love my grandma. She's easily my favorite person.
Dude, the grandmother care.
Yeah.
That's like free of judgment and just like, look, man, you're a good kid. You'll figure it out. Have some eggs.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll take some eggs, Grandma.
She was a big part of me, starting to dig my way out too. There was another day just out of the blue. She had a dream about me, and she called me, and we had a 2-hour conversation on a park bench over by Flying In, on that park that's getting remodeled. And after that conversation with her, we talked about my parents' divorce, which had really affected me when I was 15. That was kind of the start of all the depression that I kind of was trying to mask. So grandma and family is huge and essential.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through, I went through similar things. But anyway, so you're living with Graham.
Yeah.
You get yourself back together. She's making you breakfast. She's pumping you up. I tried to call my grandmother a couple times. I loved my grandma. She, rest in peace. We lost her a few years back. And the last time, actually one of the last times I saw her was it was Valentine's Day 2020. I drove, my grandma lived like an hour and a half away, and I drove out and took my grandma to breakfast at this brunch place. And then COVID hit. And like, I don't even know if I saw her again, but it was awesome hanging out. But I tried to call her a couple times because I'm like, oh, I'd love to call and like chat with grandma. She was not great on the phone. She was like, okay, I got to go by. I was like, okay, bye, grandma, I guess.
That's my mom's side. My grandpa is the same way. Hey, I'm calling to just say hi. Oh, gotta go. How are you? Good? Okay, bye. And it's like, I know you love me.
Deep down.
And I know you want to know everything that's going on with me.
Oh my God. I have
old Army guy, 6'6", police officer.
Yeah.
He's a tough cookie.
Yeah. I have a buddy of mine who's a real old fellow. And he's great. He feeds me fish and game guests and stuff. And I've actually had him on the show before, but he's tough to talk on the phone because he'll call you and he's like, Matt, it's me. and then he starts going off on, and he's great, by the way. Like he was like, hey, you should take your boys fishing over here. Like, go down at this time. I'll come meet you guys. And like, I learn a lot from this guy all the time. But whenever he's on the phone, he's like, well, good enough. Bye. I'm like, wait, I wanted to say something. I love talking to him though. He's hilarious. The best. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, so living with grandma and you're there 8 months. So I'm month 6, you're kind of getting it together.
And I have this job. I've been working this bike bar job. Have you seen the bike bars that run around downtown? So it's like a little 15-man like bar cart basically that they bar hop around. And I was driving those for those. Great. So I was working there. We're living out at grandma and grandpa's, and then old childhood friend Connor, he came back from college, and he was and I was ready to get out of grandma and grandpa's house. So he's back in town, and he was like trying to find a place. And I was like, well, I have a little bit of money saved up. I didn't have any bills out with grandma and grandpa. So I was like, well, get back to Boise. We move into this place. We lived there for a couple years. And yeah, that was just partying still, still just getting a little bit better, but not still quite there yet. And we lived there. So and then I'm trying to recollect here.
No, it's fine. I know you killed a lot of brain cells. So you're 25. You're living.
You were there.
I was definitely there.
You were there Saturday. So,
so you're 25. You've now moved out of grandma's house. What are you doing for work?
I'm doing the bike bar. I'm doing construction because the bike bar is on the weekends. So
bike bar on the weekend.
Pick up, and my dad, he does the excavating and dirt work and builds homes. So I'm whenever he's got a project, I just help him out. So
housing market's booming.
Yeah,
everybody needs work.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm helping him out on the side, and eventually, at some point, it's just like the depression keeps creeping up, and this moment happens again where I'm just kind of failing at my job at the bike bar. And Mike Thomas, he's the owner of the bike bar, also the owner of Gracie Baja off of Overland in Maple Grove.
Oh, great.
Yeah. He's like, hey, we got to have a conversation. Now I was like, well, I know what this conversation is. And he did the most loving thing that I've really almost is one of the most loving things I've ever experienced is getting fired by him. And we went to Payette Brewing. We're sitting there and we were crying together because he loves me and he wanted better for me. And he was like, I know you don't want to do this. And you're not going to work. You're failing some of these things. It's like, I could keep you on. You're good enough. You have institutional knowledge. You've been here for 4 years, 5 years, but I want what's best for you, and it's not here. And, I left that conversation just, like feeling loved. Like everyone I could tell was like, wow, I've never experienced love like this. Well, I've experienced love, but, in the tough love manner of like, hey, we can't do this.
And it's different from somebody who's not a relative of yours.
Yeah.
For somebody to look at it and be like,
and a mentor, total mentor.
Yes.
entrepreneurship guy too. Like, you know, he started his own business. He does real estate on the side. He owns a jiu-jitsu gym. Yeah, for him to tell me that it was just so loving. And so it's kind of lost. I went back to construction. I was working with my buddy. He came back from the Army and started his own construction company. So I was like, oh, you know, we'll get a few projects together.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we're doing siding and stuff. And I did that for like, I think a couple months. And, you know, there was this one morning I woke up and, you know, when I'm depressed, I like to call my family because that's who gets me up and gets me going again. And everyone was just like, hey, you know, you got to get up, go to work. You got to get there. And it was just a hard particular day. And it's like, all right. So eventually I get to work. I'm late because I've been in stitches in the morning and being depressed. And I get there and I make this silly little mistake and it just blows my world up. And I get off the ladder and I call Mike and I'm like, Mike, I'm dying here. I can't, I'm crying in my car on the job site. Like I've never been so low. And he was like, well, what's one thing that you could do that you want to do that would be worthwhile doing? And I was like, well, I've been training jiu-jitsu for like 2 years, almost 2 years at this point. And I think I want to compete now. And he was like, all right, get off the phone and sign up for jiu-jitsu tournament. And I was like, all right, I will. And so I looked at my bank account. I think I had like $100 in there. Grappling Industries is $90. And I'm like, oh, where's, you know, I got to put diesel in my truck and I got to get home and I got to eat dinner tonight. But, you know, I got to do this. And so I signed up for it wasn't Grappling Industries. The base was having like a individual. Victor came and won that tournament for the black belts. Anyways, so I signed up for that and my opponent dropped out, or I think he was just going to do no-gi, and I hadn't been training no-gi, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, back to the moment in the car. So I signed up and I call him back and he's like, all right. And then what was remarkable about that is that it lifted all of that depression and gave me something worthwhile to do. I started going to the gym 2 days for, you know, all the way up until my tournament. And, you know, I had purpose and meaning again, which I hadn't had. And just like that stark contrast is incredible. And so anyways, the tournament comes, he backs out or he's doing no-gi. So I was like, all right, I gotta make sure I, you know, sign up for another one. So I found Grappling Industries and, you know, a couple months later I did that one and I went 4-1. I made it to the championship round. Adrenaline dumped as I stepped on the mat.
Oh dude, I
was
that.
Jazzed up.
You're so pumped. And then all of a sudden you can't move.
I was, the guy basically just like poked me and I was like, huh, and then head and arm me. I was just,
were you blue belt or white belt?
White belt, 4-stripe.
Four stripes.
We're about to get the blue belt. And yeah, so my first round, I'm just like putting the work in on this kid. It's like 26-0. He'd probably been training only like 2 months, maybe. You know,
just laying down.
but not good because he should have been. You know, I should have subbed him.
Sure,
you shouldn't rack up points like that. It's, you know,
wow.
So
jiu-jitsu's hard, man. It's hard being a white belt.
White belt pretty hard. But yeah, you know, it's like getting that tournament was just such a huge thing to do for me. And
if I may, I did a podcast with somebody today and we were talking about, amazingly, I went through a really rough time when I was 40. Okay. So 40 was not a year that I'm very proud of. And it's very like I got caught off guard by life. Right. And now, mind you, at 40, like I had accomplished some things. I had a family, like I was good. I'm like, nah, it's no problem. And damn it, man. Like I got caught by life. I had moved here. I didn't know people. I didn't have friends. I made the mistake of assuming that the people I was physically around were my friends. It's like, nah, bro, they're just your neighbors. Like, just because your neighbors are drinking doesn't mean you have to go drink with them. Like, they're not even like what the problem I obviously had as in my former life is like I had slowly cultivated a very small group of very, very like-minded, driven men that I hung out with, and we engaged in like, these were my jiu-jitsu friends. And like this, I mean, first off, to get anybody to jiu-jitsu and then weather the storm over a period of a decade, like, they have to be a very specific type of person. So those people, if I was training with somebody and had been training with them for 5 years or 6 years, I knew we were friends. I knew these were my, and like, some are liberal, some are conservative, but it's like, you're still my people. Like, these are my people. And I made the mistake moving up here. I didn't have any of those friends. And then I just assumed, like, oh, we're all friends. It's like, no, these are not people. These are not all, they're not bad people. They're just not, you
haven't built that bond with them.
Right. Like, if anybody wants to hang out with me and drink 3 or 4 times a week, you're not my person. Like, that's not my job. Like, I can't, it's not my life anyway. But the thing that I was telling this guy earlier, the thing that actually brought me off the brink of like disaster is I started training twice a day again.
Yeah.
And I would go at 6 a.m. I would train. I would, help teach. I would share the things I had. I had a place in that community. I had immense value. And then I'd go again and come home, eat, like, take care of my family. And then I'd go again at noon, same thing, different group of guys, but I would, share. I had value in that community. I had a place. I had something that other people wanted to know. And I loved teaching. And I was like, yes, but it was that committing to doing that helped me start orienting my life again properly.
Yeah.
I was no longer awash. I couldn't stay out late. I couldn't drink. I had to eat the right things. I had to take care of my family. All the noise in life, all the anxiety, volume got turned completely off. Right? You train twice a day. You don't care about anything.
You don't.
It's like, oh, it's fine.
Maybe
kids.
a smoothie from Tree City.
Yeah, maybe it's a shout out to, let's go after this. I've never been to, let's go get an acai bowl. But like, it is one of those amazing things. It's like, you had this down moment and experience and you found your way out through jiu-jitsu. I did the same thing. We're separated by like well over a decade, and it still helped both of us. It's like, if that's not a commentary on what men need to get themselves back in line, I do not know what is.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to Grappling Industries, you go 4-1, 4-strike white belt.
Yeah. Dude, it's such a magical moment too. Cause Mike came, he was there cause of his school, and, I just ran into him and he came and was kind of coaching me on the sidelines too. I'll cry, man. Dang. I love him. And, that was a pretty special moment. And my whole family came, they came and watched me. My friends did too. And it was really special. And so like, that these moments of kind of identifying a dream, I guess, or something worthwhile going for, it's been a driving factor. And so after that tournament, I had that moment in the truck, and it's like, okay, I need to make some more changes. And so I hadn't been going to therapy. I'd kind of gotten away from that. And so, my parents' divorce had always been messing with me. And I finally called my mom, and it was with my mom that I had this discrepancy with about it. And, I finally told her how it made me feel, and she offered to pay for therapy and send me back. And so just doing that, I went back, and then, my therapist helped me identify another thing, what I wanted to do, and it's going to college. So that's how I got back to college. At 27. Yeah. 27.
It's, when you talk about your competition, it is so hard to explain to people how horrifying that is. Like, I still, like, I did
doing a one-on-one,
a lot of professional fights back in my previous life as like black belt up on a stage with like 30,000-40,000 people watching. And like, I would still like cry backstage beforehand. It is so hard to engage in that public judgment.
Yeah.
And like, I've competed in a lot of things too. Like, I don't know why this one in particular just gets me so bad. And again, like, I'm not bad at jiu-jitsu,
No,
it is.
You train hard?
I trained
put the
hard
work in to get there. You're supposed to be there. You're good enough to be there.
I'm objectively good enough.
It's in your division. It's in your weight class.
Right. It's not like I'm a white belt fighting
No.
against the, black belts. Like, no. I'm one of the guys. Like but that journey, one of the reasons why I got into it again, even as a black belt doing the competitions, because I'd always trained. Like I trained there. I went through a long period of time from like 2014 until I did like one tournament right away when I got my black belt. And then it was like 2014 to like the end of like 2018. And I didn't do any, and I just trained every day and I would beat the living hell out of myself. I'm talking like hours of training. Like I'd run to training with bricks in my hand. And then I'd have to run home, like after it was just terrible. Like I would just murder myself. And again, like it's really hard to explain to people what it is. And it was so upsetting to me. I actually, I was like 36 or something, I actually realized that I was avoiding it because I was so worried about it. And I was like, you can't do this. Like you cannot be a man raising boys and know that you're so scared of this thing that you're going to allow it to, you're going to avoid it. This owns you. Yeah. This owns real estate in your head. This owns your action. You're like, you see it across the street or coming towards you, cross the street and go around it. Like you can't do that. And it's so hard, but it is, if you can get yourself to do it, it is so valuable. Yeah. Like jiu-jitsu is just one of those things that you see inside yourself. Yeah. Like no one, even now, training now, like I know when I'm being a coward. I don't even care if I'm winning or losing. Like I don't get tapped often. Yeah. Right. Doesn't matter. But like, I know when I'm being a coward. I know when I'm being like cagey. Like I know when I'm like giving up, and you can see that even if nobody else does. And like, that's such a beautiful thing. Cause you can't run from that.
You can't. You have your life's problems right in front of you, and they're very real right now for 6 minutes straight. And how are you going to work through them?
Man, win. One of my craziest fights ever was I was a brown belt, Pan Ams, and I go down, and it was pretty beautiful. By the time I was a brown belt, we had my oldest son, so he's a baby. He's like 10 months. It's great. And like I won the American Cup Absolute Division, and he was like, I took a picture with him on the podium. So here's this little 10-month-old baby, and like I got my medal. I was pretty happy. But I go to Pan Ams, and it was the first fight, and it was this guy from Half Gracie in the city, and he was like, this was one of the first times when I really felt deeply like, just believe in yourself, because we slapped hands. It was an 8-minute fight. I was like, boom and boom, like just boom. You couldn't, like, it was instantaneous. We collided, and it's boom, and the fight was on. There was no lull. There was no downtime. There was no like somebody stalling, locking it up. It was 8 minutes of absolute hell for both of us. And like I ended up winning the fight. We were both schwacked. I got destroyed. Then I was so shot. Like I had nothing left.
You gave it all.
I gave it all. And big tournaments like that, they give you like 5-6 minutes in between fights. I had nothing, like not a scrap. And I didn't even care. Like I lost the second match. I'm like, dude, I don't even care. A couple of my teammates who trained at House 2 were in the stands, and they were watching and cheering, and just going through those things, like that lesson of like, you're not going to have time to think. Yeah. You have to believe. Like you got to believe and just let it happen.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's beautiful.
It is so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
You have different friends too in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like when you go out and get drinks with somebody, like, all right, you go out and get drinks, go out and get whatever, you hang out with somebody, maybe you work with them. Like, I don't know, because I've never worked with anyone, but I assume you work with people, you got coworkers. It's like, fine. But you go and train with somebody, you learn more in like 10 minutes of training with somebody than you would learn like years of hanging around somebody.
Yeah, it's an intimate thing, grappling somebody.
You just learn about their character. You learn if they're selfish. You learn if they're generous. You learn if they got like an ego problem. You learn if they're out to prove something. You learn if they're not. You learn if they're just a nice person. Yeah. Like they could hurt you, but they don't, and it's fine. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. You get a lot of you get self-awareness, and then you get to know a lot of you get awareness of others through jiu-jitsu too.
That's wild. I had no idea that's what you went through.
Yeah, that's the whole story to get back to college. And college has been its own thing too. I've really loved it. There's been some lulls, but there's been some really, serendipitous or synchronistic moments there too.
Those are big words, bro. Hey, careful, I'm an idiot. You got to tone it down.
A meaningful coincidence. Yeah. So I've been just trying to follow that feeling and have a dream of and have an aim that's worthwhile. It's hard, but it's worth doing, and I like doing it. And I think that's what I value, and that's what I try to do. I like to, and I want to try to I want to put myself around people like that. And I think you're someone like that. From what I've gathered, it's just like,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You really, with this podcast and everything that you're doing, I think it's really cool.
Dude, I am all aim.
I know you are.
That's the
and
only
it's
thing.
Cool.
The only thing I have is like a target and a force of will.
Yep.
Like I do not have whatever other benefits people have. Like I don't even know what they are, but like that is it. And that's what, like, I appreciate where you're coming. You know what's interesting? When I was going to school, and again, you're studying humanities.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going to school and I was studying rhetoric, I got so much hell from anybody I told. Now, mind you, like, it is funny.
Okay, yeah.
It is funny to be like, oh yeah, like I'm studying rhetoric. They're like,
what
is that? What are you even going to do with that? And obviously, like, right out of the way, I'm like, well, I'm going to go to law school. And they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Okay. So it's like, okay, just calm down. But even beyond that, all I do now all day long is talk to people and understand what people are saying and communicate effectively with them. Yeah. That's it. And to see that now and juxtapose that to how people viewed that when I was like 20, they're like, what are you going to do with that? I'm like, I don't know. Talk. Communicate.
Yes.
Understand people. Like, is there something that's more valuable than that? Some people might say engineering. Like, okay, the guy who invented the iPhone. Okay, great. Yeah. Like, he's real smart, right? Yeah. Like, that team, they're great. But at the end of the day, there's still a place in the world for people to actually understand each other, to people to understand ideas. And the criticism of people is like, oh, a great thinker. You're a thinker. It's like, yeah. Do you like solid contracts when you engage in agreements with people? Do you like thinking through philosophical problems with political positions? Like I had this guy in this morning, Senator Shippey, who I actually really, really enjoyed. I'd never met him. And it was great. The entire conversation, 45 minutes, was based on the proper role of government. And we were examining this idea in language, in backyard chickens, and HOA contracts, and, finances, in education, and like proper role of government. What is a proper role of government? You got to have somebody sitting around thinking about this and then coming up with a scaffolding around like, okay, I think this little thing is the proper role of government. And if we apply it like this, we can have an understanding of whether or not our government is going outside the bounds or whether we're squarely where we should be. Like, those are critical things. And it's like, you have to learn how to think and talk. Yeah.
And I that's why podcasts have been booming. And I think that there's a large spot for the humanities to be take over a little bit in culture. I think is that it's a value to be able to connect and understand one another. You don't have to agree, but we can at least understand.
I have never thought about that, what you just said, which is like humanities are going to take over in our culture. Like that's literally all that's happening.
Yeah. We're going to, AI is going to take, they're going to do the book sheets and all the books and the ledgering, and, we're going to have to find something new to do.
Yeah. But I think at the core of it, it's like, if you don't have, like, have you ever heard of Jordan? Are you a fan of Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of Jordan Peterson. Really appreciate the guy. But like, if you think about his articulation and walking through, when he walks through problems that he sees and like his again, scaffolding, his framework for understanding the world is like, whoa, I had not thought about that.
Yeah.
Or like, wow, I see that totally. That's the kind of stuff where it's like, that's a mass cultural influence where people are like, okay, I understand this problem more thoroughly now. Like I get the issue, or I get why this is a better option than that option. If we don't have people capable of ironing that stuff out, not telling people what to say, to think, but just saying like, all right, look, here's what happens over here. And this is what happens over here.
Yeah.
And like, let me explain why. And like, you do you, but like, these are your two decisions at the end of the road.
Yeah. And it's another thing with like Jordan. It's like, I like Jordan. There's some things that he said that maybe I don't agree with, or there's something that I will, yeah, of course, with anybody, but at least he's willing to have the conversation and put these ideas out there and then, you know, talk about them.
That's another thing. We can all be afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But somebody has to say something.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, okay.
It's like in jiu-jitsu, if you do nothing, that's doing something.
Like you want to tell me I did the wrong move. Fine. At least I shot for a move.
Yeah.
Like you want to tell me I said the wrong thing. A has a problem. B has a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We got to pick one. Oh, I don't want to pick one. You got to pick one.
Yeah, I got to pick one.
Yeah. So like you want to sit around and say, I don't want to, they both suck, but you got to make a call one way or another.
Yeah.
So what's your call?
Yeah.
Right. And you can criticize me for making the wrong call, but you're not going to criticize me for not making a call. At least I took action.
Yes.
And like, now I know if A was bad, if it was not as bad as I thought, or it was worse than I thought, fine. Yeah. But I know now, and I'm going to make another call and I'm going to another call. And by the time you start picking between A and B, I'm already 10 steps down.
Yeah. And it's just important that we're able to engage with each other and not hate each other for ideas and words and the things we think or say, but come together and try to find the best way forward.
I've never been a BSU student, and I've certainly never studied humanities at BSU. There's a lot to be said about problems within the humanities as I've experienced them.
Yeah.
Even 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there's room for you to have a variety of thoughts at BSU?
I do. You know, obviously I'm an odd chicken. I'm a little bit of an ugly duckling in the humanities at Boise State, I would say. And not that people treat me as an ugly duckling, just I would just say in like maybe a cultural framework, the way the optics of how I look. You don't
have to tell me. Like imagine me walking into a rhetoric class. Like that's not what you expect for somebody coming in to like 100%. Argue about philosophy.
Yeah. But there's room for other, you know, for me to be in the humanities at Boise State.
That's good.
Yeah.
What I experienced, I think, was really the real beginning of identity politics at Cal when we were going through. So I remember a couple courses in particular where somebody was like, well, of course you think that. You're like a big white guy. And I'm like, first off, I'm Mexican. No, not white. And second, like, can you argue my point? Like, I have a point here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just dismiss it from like a character assassination.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I am glad to hear that it's like, no, there is space for disagreement. There is space for, I don't see it this way, right? That my fear is that in higher education and humanities in general, that it becomes this just, no, this is the right answer. This is the only answer. And I'm just telling you why this is the right answer. It's like, this is not math class, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't feel like there's that at Boise State at all. I think that especially with the humanities, it's a new department at Boise State, and it's kind of up and coming. I think there's only 20 kids in there, and I'm one of them. And you know, the chairman's made it in such a way that you can take a leadership class, or you can take a philosophy class, or you can take a nonprofit class. You can do it's I hate to say the key word or the buzzword interdisciplinary, but it really is. It allows you to get experience in different things all across campus, rather than kind of locking you in maybe like a philosophy only, you know, pathway, which I've really appreciated. And then another thing I'm a part of at Boise State is the Institute for Advancing American Values, and it's all about this. We don't have to agree, but we can understand one another and have a civic discourse over politics. And
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to the director of that.
Andrew Finstman and Marlene Trump. They started with Greg Carr. He's a philanthropist up in North Idaho. And they made this institute because they were kind of seeing how the culture was going. And they wanted to make sure that, you know, civic discourse was alive and well in the university. So they started this institute at Boise State. And it's really one of the most beautiful things that I've encountered at the school. What's his name? Cornell West came with Robert George, and they sit on different political aisle, but they're brothers and they love each other. And, you know, they were just displayed that for like an hour up on the stage, and it was beautiful to see. And it, you know, and the things they talked about, like, you know, that kind of stuff was just, it was really eye opening. And I got an email like 2 weeks later after that event that they were looking for undergraduate fellows. I was like, sign me up. I got to be a part of this. I want to try to, you know, be part of the culture that we start to talk to each other.
That's it. We have to say, you know what I was thinking about last week? You don't know. I'm going to tell you. I was thinking about last week was that everybody gets mad at me. Both sides get mad at me. The Democrats get mad at me. The Republicans get mad at me. Mm-hmm. I actually, it's not even party. It's hard left and hard right. Yeah. Those are the people, right? Yeah. Like, and sometimes people of a certain leaning will call and be like, oh, I can't believe you talked to that person. I'm like, did you even listen? Did you even listen to the conversation? Mm-hmm. Right? They're like, oh, you platformed them. It's like, I'm platforming people. Like, I want to know why people, like, for instance, one that I got heat with was from Representative Heather Scott from up north. Mm-hmm. I had a great conversation with Representative Scott. Yeah. Like, I invited her on the show again. I would love to chat with her again. And she came in telling me why she thought that we should not have same-sex marriage mandated by the Supreme Court, why we should eliminate the usage of any flag outside of the United States or the Idaho flag. And then there was another one. It was like cricket protein or something. And we need labels for bug protein. And it's like, can I not talk to her and just understand what she thinks? Yeah. I don't have to say, like, I wholeheartedly agree with absolutely everything, but like, criminy man, like, she should be able to, and she's an elected representative.
She's a part of, that's what I was going to say, is that she's a part of that decision-making process. So it's better to hear what she has to say than not.
Of course. It's better. And she's an elected representative passing laws in the state of Idaho. Yeah. I would like to know what her position is. I don't have to agree with it. I don't even have to like it. Yep. But dang it, man. Like, none of us benefit from us saying, I think I disagree. I don't know exactly why, but I think I disagree with her. Yeah. Or I disagree in categorically with where she arrives. Yeah. And it's not even worth understanding. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we just start pointing fingers at each other. It's like, that's not civil discourse. That's not discourse at all. That's just the end of the line. Yeah. You know, and like, that is not, I don't like that. I love talking to people. I especially love being surprised by people. I love learning things I didn't think otherwise. And Representative Heather Scott had a lot of things like, I had never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. Yeah. Right. I didn't say like, okay, I agree with you. Yeah. Or I don't agree with you. I just like, that's really interesting. I understand where you're coming from.
I understand where you're coming from.
What a novel concept.
I don't agree maybe, but
I don't even say that.
Or you don't even say
that.
You don't have to.
You know what's so funny? Yeah. People get mad. They're like, you're just a blank or you're blank. And the question I always have is like, what's my position? Yeah. Like, you don't even know what my position is. They're like, you're so biased. I'm like, biased which way?
I don't.
Because like this guy over here says I'm biased the other way. So like, which one of you is right?
Yeah, I like to say that I'm comfortably confused. I don't know where I'm at.
Just an idiot.
I just need to know. I'm a silly guy. Just don't know where I'm.
What was that noise? Did you hear noise? I thought I heard noise. No noise. We're good.
I might have knocked the table.
Oh my God, you're a terrible person. Listen, where can we get acai bowls?
Oh.
Is there a place close by?
I'm trying to think. The only place I can think of is like State Street Eagle, which is...
That's really far away.
Far away from here.
What can we get that's food? Listen to me. I've been doing a lot of work with the chamber. What is good food that we can go to right now? I've been eating at Moon's like it's going out of style.
Oh, no.
I can't go there again right now. It's so good.
If you need protein, you go to St. Lawrence Gridiron.
What like if we go there right now, what do we get?
Get some brisket.
Get some brisket? Just get like half pound of brisket?
Slab of meat. What else do you need?
Well, hang on a sec. What time? Okay, it's 2. What do you have to do the rest of the day? You're a college student. You don't have anything.
Nothing to do.
Dude, let's go to St. Lawrence Gridiron right now.
All right.
Done. My treat. We're doing this. Thank you, everybody. There we go. Wait, no, we're not even going to do that. I don't even know. I never pointed the camera. Listen to me, Ty. You're the best. God bless you, sir. Let's go get some barbecue. Let's do this again.
Sweet. Thank you.